The day is going to come where we have to decide, because it is in my nature. Thanks very much for that. That was very helpful. It's in my nature to do so, whether Moffat is better than RTD.
I think Moffat is better than RTD.
And it's unfair to make that assessment at this stage, because at the moment RTD's writing multiple episodes and Moffat's just getting away with one or two, and therefore he can save up everything for his one or two a season. But my gosh, The Girl in the Fireplace is utterly phenomenal Doctor Who. It is the sort of story that illustrates adroitly how unique a premise Doctor Who is, and how it's capable of doing any kind of story. And not only that, stories that other mediums, other IPs, other storytelling frameworks cannot do. You could not do this in the way that this is done in anything other than Doctor Who. And it's a beautiful thing to behold. Not only that, but I seem to recall when we talked about the Doctor dances and all that, how it flabbergasted me how well constructed the stories, and this is one thing at the moment at least that Moffat's got over RTD. Whereas RTD will just do a wave of his hand and all of a sudden everything gets fixed or sorted, or there's something that, some bit of techno babble that you'd never heard of, and that, you know, at one point Moffat mocks that in this story because he has the Doctor make something up and then admit he made it up. But in this, almost, with one exception, almost everything just slots into place as if it had been planned, carved into stone. It is a sight to behold. Even, and this only struck me on this watch through, the cold open with Madame de Pompadour talking to the fireplace, which is kind of a foreshadowing of what is to come, does happen again in the story. But the second time round it happens in the story, it happens with Madame de Pompadour from the past of her own timeline, hearing what happens. It's an absolutely beautiful piece of television. It's so subtle and clever and lovely. And that's this story to a T. Subtle and clever and lovely. It is chock full of magnificent performances. I think Sophia Myles does very well with a role that she has to front up to the Doctor. That's hard for a guest actor to do, to be given a part that basically affords him an opportunity to go one-on-one with the Doctor and be his equal. I think Rose and Mickey in this are brilliant, particularly Billie Piper. And I was reminded of, I used to talk about Sarah Jane when Sarah Jane was in it, and how Elizabeth Sladen would sell everything. Every single scene with Sarah Jane in was improved because Sarah Jane was in it, because she reacted to stuff and made things more real. Billie Piper does that all the way through this. The way that she talks about, when she relates to the Doctor about the heart, or when she talks to Mickey about the heart being there, and when she talks to Madame de Pompadour and they have that quite spiky relationship as you'd expect, is absolutely fabulous. The Clockwork Robots are a masterpiece of design, and it's a great shame that they're so neatly and completely dealt with in this story, because they could have come back, they could have been a thing. And of course they afford us the opportunity to have one of the greatest lines ever in Doctor Who, which is when Tennant goes, "I'm not winding you up," which is just, I mean, but this whole story is full of absolutely spectacular lines. Invented the banana daiquiri too early. That was brilliant. The horse.
Always have a banana with you.
Always have a... Oh, bananas are good. When he comes around, he says, you know, what else can we find on the ship? And he finds a horse.
Not just any horse, that's after.
It's chock-a-flipping block of quotable, brilliant moments. But it's never showboating at the expense of a spectacular story. It's just amazing. The set design is beautiful. I mean, it seems an obvious thing, but actually building sets where it goes from France, was it, say, 17th century France? 17th century France. My French history is not very good. 18th century France. 17th? I don't know. Pre-revolutionary France to the spaceship, side by side. Now, that's, you know, say it out loud, it's an obvious thing, but it just looks amazing when they transition from one to the other. It's absolutely class. And honestly, this story stands up against anything so far in the revival. and is amongst the best of the stuff in the classic story. So, I mean, that's where this should finish. But there's one more thing I want to say about this, and it really, really struck me. And it's this, and this leans back into Moffat and RTD. And we love RTD in this house. We have nothing but good things to say about the man. However, what Moffat starts to do here, and what he'll continue to do, I think, I'm only guessing, because this is as far on as Doctor Who has gone, according to the rules of Whoathon, is he actually starts to look at the sorts of relationships the Doctor has and affords them the complexity that they must have. So the Doctor and the companion relationship, up until very recent, is sacrosanct, isn't it? You know, it's such a key, precious thing. All of a sudden, the arrival of Mickey on the scene and Madame de Pompadour on the scene starts to demonstrate that the sorts of relationships, whether friend or romantic or whatever else in between, is just so much more complicated when you're dealing with this character and the people he surrounds himself with. Because the Doctor, I've got no doubt, loves Rose. He loves Rose. There's no question about that in my mind. But my God, how can you label whatever he feels for Madame de Pompadour here? And
that's lust, baby.
I'm not sure. It's more than lust. It's bigger than that. But also,
no, I'm not sure.
How do you then label what Mickey and Rose have got? Because even though I think it's fair to say that you've seen a sort of deterioration in their relationship, they're a good pair in this story. Also, can I just say, that was the last thing I was going to say. I think Billie Piper does a brilliant job of being the Doctor in the scenes with Mickey. She does a really good job. And that line about the oncoming storm, oh my word. Seriously, we watched Girl in the Fireplace recently, me and the kids, because when he was begging to see it, because people at school had talked about it, and you can see why. This is one of those stories that resonates, not so much as The Weeping Angels, not so much as Are You My Mummy, but we did that little video talking about that. This is one of those stories that just ripples a bit wider than your average fan. This just stretches a bit further. Any thoughts, Collins?
I thought it was a very good thing. Yeah, I felt quite sorry for the robots. Like, it didn't really seem their fault that they were in that.
That they were stupid.
It's quite a touching story.
But funny as well, and clever, and smart, and very, very Moffat. There we go.